This is the last part of the session today. It was a long session today, but I'm going to kind of give you a few kind of ideas about, okay, if we have memories, if we have all those memories that are important parts of our experiences, have an important part of how we behave and how we navigate our life in the kind of daily experiences, is there any chance that we can change those memories that we made before in a way that is going to help us to change our behavior? This topic is being discussed under a term that is called memory reconsolidation. I'm just going to give you a few ideas about, is this possible or not? So memory reconsolidation is going to be a topic for further discussions in terms of how is this possible or not? So how we can reshape memories. Now we are going to start the last part of the session today, discussing about how we might be able to reshape the memory. And if I bring back some of those kind of pictures that you shared with us today, I asked you in the video channel to just share some of the photos that are going to activate memories related to eating behavior. And you shared some of the pictures. It's quite interesting that some of those pictures are pretty much universal. So if you can see those pictures, you can see them. I mean, they could activate memories related to food in almost all the kind of the class participants. But there are images that are not universal. So, for example, this one is a sort of kind of kebab with minced beef or minced kind of meat. That is, I mean, people in Turkey, in Iran, they have kind of experiences with that. But there are people around the world that they might not have the same type of kind of experience with these kind of types of food, and they might activate different types of memories in different people, and kind of discussing about memory and how these memories related to food and how they might be able to be modulated. It seems that kind of from the ancient world, when we talk about the Greek culture, even then people were thinking about kind of how we might be able to change memories. And there is a kind of a interesting piece in the Greek literature for a water spring in the part of the hidden world that was being called as Lethe. And this spring, anybody who were able to drink from that spring were able to forget the previous memories that they had. So, and the Lethe is a root that is being used for things like literacy or illiteracy or other kinds. So it has a really strong sort of conceptual background behind it. I'm not going to get to that point, but it seems that even from the kind of ancient Greece, people were really interested to know about how we might be able to forget and how we might be able to remove some of the memories that we have in our brain. And there are some modern kind of ways of doing that as well. There are studies that are happening in the field that they realize that in the process of learning, we know that we can store information in the brain. But when we reactivate a memory, the memory gets sort of vulnerable. And there are hopes that we can add new information or add some chemical interventions. And then when we reestablish the information, the new memory is going to be completely different. So the idea is when we reactivate a memory, there is a window, a time window, that we might be able to reshape the memory. We can add new pieces of information to that. We might be able to do some pharmacological interventions here. And then when we reconsolidate the memory, it would be a new shape. So the idea is whenever we reactivate a memory, whenever we retrieve a memory, whenever we have the map activated again, we have this opportunity to reshape the map. And when it is back, the map would have a different shape. So, and that is an interesting idea, not only for sort of kind of pharmacological interventions to reshape memories with pharmacological interventions, but also from the psychotherapy sense of view, in terms of, okay, if I bring up a memory about something, then the psychotherapist would have this opportunity for a limited amount of time to be able to reshape the memory and make a new type of memory. And it is true for eating behavior as well. And the idea is, okay, if I have a specific memories related to that specific cue, is there any chance that we can activate the memory and then we can start to talk about this cue with specifying it, listing possible kind of scenarios about that, starting to imagine what we can do and some other pieces, and then merging those new, because here we are making new memories, and adding those new memories to this old memory that we have. And this is what we call the combination of future episodic thinking and cue exposure. So the idea is we expose people to cues. Cues would activate memories. Now we have those memories activated. And then we have this opportunity to add new pieces to those memories. And then that kind of stored map would be reshaped based on the additions that we are making to that memory. And how we do that, we expose people to kind of cues that activate memories. Sometimes the cues could be visual cues, or sometimes they could be just, let's say, written cues. So when we talk about people who have traumas, we can activate memories that are related to traumas, and then in the process of psychotherapy, we can reshape them in a way that are going to be kind of in a less, let's say, disturbing memories. The reality is, I mean, if you are doing this, you need to know clearly what you are doing, because sometimes when you are activating a memory and you really don't know how to reshape that in a way that is going to be less disturbing, you might even make it more disturbing. And that is going to be really stressful for the patients. So the business of playing with memory is a really complex business. And I usually kind of tell students when they want to get to that level of, let's say, expertise to be able to do therapies related to things like trauma, like food craving or drug craving, and they want to modulate those memories, they need to clearly know when they bring up and activate those memories, how to manage the, let's say, craving, the distress, the anxiety, everything that is related to the activation of that memory, and try to be able to reshape the memory in a better way. Sometimes you just activate a memory with a kind of high level of anxiety and just reconsolidate the memory in a stronger way, and then the memory will be there for a long period of time. So that would make things even more complex. So there are potentials in terms of having a time window to be able to modulate the memory. We need to clearly know, okay, what are the things that I'm going to do? If I bring up a memory related to food, how I'm going to specify problems regarding to kind of eating behavior, how I'm able to make possible solutions and imagine new outcomes that it could have, and then making something like a plan, and then try to visualize that and make a new sort of prospective memory, and then try to merge them with the memory related to that specific fries, with the hope that whenever the memory related to fries is coming up, it would also bring up the other components that we have added to this initial map. And then those added components would help to bring some solutions not to eat that food. So that is going to be an interesting sort of intervention that people are working on, but it is something like an area in its infancy. So right now we are working with some of the kind of students right now in terms of developing new interventions based on the combination of cue exposure therapy and future episodic thinking. So we are hopeful that this combination is going to be something that is going to help patients. Okay, so that was the last part of the session today. So we discussed about memory, we discussed about different types of memory, and we discussed about how the memory is being encoded in different parts of the brain. And then we discussed about potentials to reshape the memory. And then you might even ask me, okay, when you discussed about reshaping memory, what type of memory you are talking about? You are talking about episodic memory, you are talking about the semantic types of memories that you have, how you might be able to do that. And I can tell you that the part that we have a better access to is going to be the episodic part. So that is the part that we probably can have a better access. But there might be potentials to have access to other parts, like the conditioning part, with other interventions. With the conditioning part, probably with things that are related to body experiences, different sort of medications, things that could just change your heart rate. If I can change your heart rate when you are experiencing a sort of a habitual memory or something like conditioned memory, there might be potential to reshape that memory with just using the physical experience that you have, using different sort of pharmacological agents. So it seems that the general idea is there in terms of activating the memory and reshaping the memory, but based on the type of the memory that we are talking about, whether the memory is an episodic memory, a semantic memory, a procedural memory, a habitual memory, a conditioning memory, based on the type of memories that we have, they probably need to have different sort of interventions to be able to modulate those memories if we want to kind of use those memories to change the behavior. And that is going to get complex over time. But there are definitely hopes in terms of being able to modulate memories. Okay, good. I hope that you was able to follow what we discussed today from A to Z, and I hope that we will continue these discussions with other areas regarding the cognitive neuroscience. Next week, we are going to discuss about attention and how attention contributes to consciousness, and then we discuss about how we might be able to train attention to kind of intervene in some of the other cognitive functions that we have in the brain. So follow us next week. See you there, see you here, and we can kind of discuss about these interesting topics in the next sessions and level. And I'm really happy that we basically, by the end of this session, we completed the book to the half. So now we have completed the half of the book. And I mean, I'm highly recommending you to read the actual textbook. And I hope that for the next 7 sessions, you would be able to cover the other part of the book. And I realize that it's going to be a sort of a level of persistence that we need to have to follow the entire process of this kind of really sort of heavy lifting academic course. But I'm hopeful that those who have the level of persistence to follow the entire course, they would kind of get to a level of competence in terms of the cognitive neuroscience that is going to be helpful for them. Have a good day. See you next week.